This has got to be over with in an hour. Don't take too much of our time, Edward.
My part would be real simple. What I did is, after John and I talked this weekend about trying to come up with some ways of structuring the interviews and that. And so this is just an early stab. What we're trying to do is we'll use these first two interviews as a kind of tryout for us just to see what works and what doesn't work, and then refine everything from technique to like this thematic list, which I just took a stab at to start with. But what we want to have eventually, this document which the students made or put together in Bill McGregor's class, we need to take this, I need to take this and fill in the parts where they just did, they did certain sections fairly well, and some they didn't do at all, but like the timeline needs to be revised. But what we'll end up with is a document then that anybody who does an interview can consult, and it'll have the timeline that we want to use in it, the major events that we're going to use to sort of orient ourselves in time, and then it'll have a definitive thematic list. And the other thing is that I after 5-6 years of poking my nose into Butte history and that, I just have this, like any place, there are a lot of different stories, a lot of different versions, but Butte, it seems like it's just one world after another, all these different interpenetrating worlds that are here, and as I was saying to John, at any one moment you could pick a date, November 20th, 1955, and you say, what was A doing in such and such mine, what was B doing over here at the nightclub, what was C doing over here in the courthouse, what was D doing over here in the little house up in Centerville. And you have all these different worlds going on simultaneously. So that was the idea with the themes, and to try to get a sense of placing people with respect to the different themes, as well as the historical events. So that, and then the second page is just of this thing is just a repeat of what I put together before, just some general ideas about the setting of the interview and the basic information, which I see John has put into the release form, which is good. And then in this particular case, as we were saying earlier, Eddie, since you know this guy, it's not a matter of, we normally do a pre-interview if we didn't know the person, to try to get some gauge, what the territory is going to be. But in this case, we know the person, so I think it's just a simple matter of getting this basic information then up front, and then going after those target areas that JP has got some information about. And one of them, from my standpoint, was real interesting, since he knew butter.
Yeah.
I think that's a rich area there.
He also knows a lot about the medical community, because all the Kanes are doctors. Okay. And that's a big area. Okay. So, just what else would he be able to talk to about? What was the relationship with Butter?
Well,
friend or
uncle?
Uncle,
yeah.
right.
But he went to the speakeasies with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be a great area. And then the medical community.
Because that whole crew is like the heart of the whole medical community, near as I can tell. All the Kane brothers, Butter Driscoll, they were all doctors and dentists.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, anything, for instance, there's lots of stuff there, obviously, in terms of community health, but also, the miners wing,
I think medical politics too,
Yeah.
because I know they had the only lung x-ray machine that miners had access to.
Oh, really?
Just to prove that they had silicosis when the company said they didn't.
That's great stuff right there. Those two areas right there, the speakeasies, and that would be,
Plus,
you could do an hour on that probably.
Plus JP's wife, Madeline, his father was Joe Shannon of the
No, uncle.
was that her uncle?
Yeah.
Was Joe Shannon from the Frank Little times. And he was one of the guys that had to leave town. I'm right about that, aren't I?
Mm-hmm. Jay, no.
And JP would have talked to him.
Yeah.
So we should
Really?
ask him.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's three real good areas right there.
So he did, let's see, he went to a couple of different colleges. He went to Annapolis, left there, joined the Navy. That's World War II days. days.
Did he serve in World War II then?
Yeah.
During World War II?
Yeah, he didn't see any combat. All the three boys did, my three brothers.
When they have 11 kids?
Yeah, he worked for Boeing for a while. He never did work in the mines that I can remember. Did work on the Gandhi dancers, I think, local railroads. Like in the summertime, you know.
How old is he now, Ed?
78.
Okay, so he's born about 1920 or something?
Yeah. He's 13 years older than I am.
So he would have been a kid in the 30s.
Yeah.
See, that's one of the timeline things like that. That's I think be really good before all the interviews is imagine this, because we have the timeline, we'll have the thing, we'll go, okay, he was his teenage years were the 30s. And that's going to be a period where that helped like orienting. And then he's out of town during the war and his school days.
Yes.
So there'll be a block there where he won't be able to say anything about maybe he will, maybe he won't. But that's sort of how to use that timeline, I think, in terms of thinking of what he might be able to.
Well, the things that he did do when he was young.
Yeah, and then
were
as
very
far as work,
impressionable.
he was his father-in-law owned a construction company, wrote work, to that, worked that, then went to work for the state of Montana as a right-of-way, buying up land for the interstate, and
JP did?
yeah, and then after that, he was the boss out here at the Butte Division for maintenance on the highway, which...
So the career choice came late?
The construction company he worked for dissolved.
Oh, he was not a doctor. His father, Pat Kane.
Oh, okay.
And all of his uncles were doctors. They
gotcha.
were real famous medical
Oh,
family.
gotcha, okay. All right, now I thought he was a doctor.
And then they were second generation, weren't they?
Who?
They were all born in Butte. Yeah. But then their father had come to Butte, right?
Yeah, John P.
Yeah.
From Ireland?
Yeah.
Okay. And was a mine foreman.
Is that Cork? Are they from Cork?
No, they're from
Waterford.
Waterford.
Wonderful.
Also, I thought what was real interesting too was John P., the grandfather, had a stepbrother, John J. O'Mara, that came about the John P.'s father actually dying in Ireland, and his mother was named Anastasia Harney. She remarried a John J. O'Mara. He was quite active in the mines, but he and his whole family, he and his wife and a daughter and a son all died. Well, 3 of them died within 3 days of the Spanish flu.
Here,
in 1917.
And he was also maybe the money man for the Robert Emmer Literary Association.
I would
J.
doubt
John
it. Yeah, because I have seen where he sent largest deposits of money back to Ireland.
So would Jay know about that?
I think Jade knew about that.
Well, that would be, what part of town?
For the
did they
RELA.
live in?
They lived up on Galena Street, or
What?
50.
They're on the west side?
Yeah,
Well, they lived on the Gulch. They lived-
No, but he's talking about Jay.
Oh,
He was born on West Gold, lived a little bit on West Broadway, and then eventually up in the 1200 block on West Copper, so pretty much the west side of town.
But the family originally settled in the
on
Gulf?
Emmett Street,
Oh, okay.
South Emmett, 310 North Emmett.
What parish is that?
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's Parish.
Their house is where the hoist room for the Kelly shaft, Kelly mine is.
Oh, okay. So they were Dublin Gulch.
Yeah, but Jay's got quite a varied life, I mean, and
I think Jay will know probably
and
anything
he
you
was
want to ask him Ed, about.
he sure didn't lead a sheltered life,
No.
He liked to drink and he liked to fight, and he was all over. Jesus, he knew everybody.
Still knows
This was
everybody.
in his earlier days, when I'm talking,
Yeah.
young kid, but I mean.
So what was his occupation then? I mean, did he stay in construction? Or?
Yeah, mostly. I'm trying to think, I guess about the time he got out of the Navy, which would have been the end of the war, 45, whatever. He did spend some time in school, but he was married. had 4 or 5 kids, he just couldn't, you know.
Wasn't he going to medical school?
Yeah,
too?
he went to Creighton for a while, he went to Carroll for a while, but he went to work for his father-in-law in the construction business.
Shannon,
And, geez, I don't know how many years he worked there, but quite a few.
yeah.
And then when he got out, he went to work for the state of Montana in the